Happy National Celiac Awareness Day, if you didn't know, September 13th. And I wrote this book, believe it or not, back in 2009, and it has really stood the test of time, but it did not include what we're going to go over today, which is a form of wheat that's gluten-free. And there's been a lot of queries about this as this has come to the U.S. from other countries in the world that use wheat starch that is actually gluten-free. So how does all this happen? Basically, flour and water, the way a lot of good recipes start. But taking flour and water, you make a dough, and then you wash the dough. And what comes out is the starch of the wheat, and then that is further processed and then dehydrated, and what's left is the starch of the wheat, but not any gluten of the wheat. So you're actually taking wheat. So appreciate the fact that when you see a product, it's going to have, as we have in this country, common allergens. So wheat will be listed on the label, but then also it can say certified gluten-free. So that can really confuse matters. And so I was asked by a few people, is this legit? What is this about? The beauty of wheat starch is it has that elasticity and flexibility to it that, you know, the glue-like nature of gluten, which gives baked products and pizza and breads, you know, that wonderful consistency that we all miss, those of us who are gluten-free. The wheat starch brings some of that back. So people have said, you know, they have pizza dough and they make their own rolls, and it has a bit of that elasticity back in it. And it was interesting because it harkened me back to actually being in Europe, and also my daughter another time being in Europe, and she had a roll served to her and in a restaurant, and I can't remember whether it was London or in Paris, but anyway, so she tasted it and it was too good, and so she goes, no, I'm gluten-free, because she gets very ill. And the waiter assured her it was gluten-free, and then someone else around the table tasted it who is not gluten-free and said, yeah, there's no way this is gluten-free, it's too good. Anyway, long story short, it actually was gluten-free, which made me think that's probably what they were using, was this gluten-free wheat starch, and that's where we got confused about how delicious it tasted, and it kind of fooled the tongue a little bit. But what's most important is if you are avoiding gluten, if you're gluten sensitive or you have celiac disease, is this safe for you? And so I'm going to just give you all the data that I know, and then you can make your own decisions. So a lot of these products do come from Europe, and in Europe what's nice is that their threshold for allowing gluten in foods is less than 10 parts per million. Here in the US, it's double that. It's less than 20 parts per million. And I've definitely met patients and spoken to people who say, I don't care unless, you know, less than 20 is still too much for my body. I still react to it. I have to know that there is zero gluten in this product. There's no ingredients in this product that have anything to do with gluten, and there's no possible cross-contamination. It is a big zero, and otherwise these people can react. So that's where we get into what is the testing of this. So we have the dough, and it's washed, and we're down to this powdery residue that's the starch in itself, and it's tested and said to fall within this less than 20 parts per million here in the US. But is that enough for you? And that's the question. So generally speaking, I'm not a fan of processed products at all, and there's a lot of gluten-free junk food out there. So we have Oreos and other types of cookies, and we've got pizza crust, and a lot of it is very refined, and it's not a healthy type of food. So I like my patients to keep it to a minimum regardless. But if you're somebody who you don't find yourself to be highly sensitive, then what you have to do is make sure that it says certified gluten-free, because then you know that this company went there. They have to go through a lot more hoops to be certified, number one, and then so that due diligence they've had to go through shows they're very serious about it, and they're testing their product. Now here in the US, it will be less than 20 parts per million. If the product comes from Europe, you know it's even better, less than 10 parts per million, and then you can make the decision based on that. And I just wouldn't consume a lot of it. I wouldn't make, this a bread that you consume every single day type of thing, mostly because it's highly processed and not necessarily that you're getting gluten. So the other point I want to make before we finish up is to note that a product can say wheat starch and have gluten. So just because, you heard this today and go, oh, wheat starch, that's safe. No, not necessarily. So remember, it can say wheat on the label. It can say wheat starch as an ingredient. But if it doesn't say certified gluten-free, then you literally are getting glutened. So you want to be very careful about that, because there's like a common potato chip brand that has wheat starch in it, and it has gluten. It is not certified gluten-free in any way, shape, or form. So, so not to confuse the issue, but the wheat starch, when it says wheat on the label and it also says certified gluten-free, you should be in the realm of what most products that are certified gluten-free and use grains, you should be in that sort of same safety realm. If you're a bit paranoid and over-concerned, and I don't mean over-concerned as in not necessarily concerned, because I'm in this camp. I don't want to be glutened and I don't like highly processed food. I would just say not to consume it unless it's your birthday and you've really missed pizza and you've tried some products like this before and you haven't had any ill effects. But generally speaking, don't make it a regular part of your diet. But do know these products are out there, maybe for special occasions, and that as long as it says certified gluten-free, then you should be safe. So any other questions about gluten, celiac disease? This is definitely an area of expertise of ours here at Root Cause Medical Clinic. So if you're wondering if you're gluten sensitive, if you've been told you do not have celiac disease, but you're still thinking you're reacting to gluten, we'd be happy to assist. And if you like this information, please give the channel a thumbs up so more people can get this information and subscribe. So again, more eyeballs can see it. And until tomorrow, it's been a busy week. It's Wednesday. I've been a little remiss this week. But until tomorrow, we'll see you then.